Greetings from Storybrooke. I'm Bobby Hawk.
I'm Elizabeth Placencia.
I'm Tony Hooper.
And I'm Monica Jones.
And this is the land where we make the most awesome beignets. Okay. Maybe I should have practiced that beforehand. We also talk about ABC's hit series show Once Upon a Time. How are you guys doing this week?
Doing good.
That's cool. Great. So this week, I would ask what's new, and I kind of already did off air, and it kind of seems that not a whole lot. Tony was doing a whole lot of shopping, but other than that, there wasn't really a whole lot going on.
Amazon shopping, man.
Yeah, you can't even put down the phone for a second. I mean, we're going to the podcast, and you're like, "Oh, got that."
Hey, it is all Once Upon a Time stuff with a new camera coming soon, you guys. I have a new camera coming. Awesome. I'm gonna be good, fluid, not trippy.
Okay, well, we look forward. We definitely look forward to that. Speaking of, there was a bit of like yard sale shopping going on in this week's episode. We finally get to see the Princess and the Frog, of which I never really got a chance to see the Disney version.
Check it out.
Are you forgetting something?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Aren't you forgetting something?
I know, that's what I was just about to say.
Oh, okay.
No, you're fine.
You too
I thought you
quick.
were getting into the episode.
I was saying that but we will get onto all of that in the recap right after Elizabeth gives us this week's rhyming summary.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I'm so sad.
Go in.
Anyway, Elizabeth, why don't you go ahead and read this week's rhyming summary?
Okay, season 7, episode 5. Sabine and Jacinda start their own business making beignets. Since Belfry wants to raise the rent, they have debts to pay. In a flashback, Tiana needs a prince to save her kingdom, but Dr. Facilier proves to be somewhat fearsome. Meanwhile, Ronnie and Ivy try to find out Victoria's secret and unfortunately find no one. How convenient. However, Ronnie finds a puzzling photograph. Could this make her memory come back? We'll all need steam baths after this week's episode, Greenbacks.
Greenbacks. I thought this was a very cleverly titled episode.
It was hard to rhyme with, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Definitely see it, but hey, you didn't.
Because you rock.
Thank
I
you.
was saying,
You rock
preface.
Okay.
I'm not too familiar with the story of. Well, I mean, I'm familiar with the prince, the Frog Prince, like the original story. But this Princess Frog or Frog Princess, whatever, obviously this takes more than a few cues from the Disney story that I unfortunately have yet to see.
I have seen it myself.
Okay, and what about?
This is not the way it went.
No, okay. That's
not the way it went.
But it's Once Upon a Time. They change it all the time. So
no, and I totally because my son walked in while we were watching, and he kind of like he saw the episode and was like, oh well, obviously this is what this is, and I told him what was going on. He was like, oh well, it's different. Then I was like, well, it's like you guys just said, it's Once Upon a Time. It's always different, but not like I said, me not seeing the original, I didn't know how different, I didn't know what to judge it off of. So it's good. Right. Well, I mean, that's fine, but it's good to know that the three of you have, so that if there is any, anything that really needs to be pointed out as far as differences between the two stories, you can do so if you'd like. Because
the song "Friends" from the Other Side stuck in their head because I do.
That's a song from the movie, I take it.
Yeah, it's the song that the Dr. Facilier sings in the movie.
Okay, so
ad nauseum.
So is it a thing from the movie that like the frog was really supposed to be a frog all along or whatever?
No, not at all.
He's a prince that gets turned into a frog, and then he meets Tiana as a frog. And he talks to her and he says, well, maybe if you kiss me, maybe I'll turn back into a prince kind of thing. And instead, she turns into a frog with him.
Mm-hmm. It seems like it's kind of like a mini curse, basically.
Okay. So, but the guy wasn't always a frog. He was a prince to begin with.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Got tricked by Dr. Facilier.
And his name is Marius in the...
No, his name is Naveen.
Naveen in the movie, Marius in the show. But
okay.
I really hope that they really introduce thing. Please, God.
Okay, well, I think that's for the most part the... Well, if that's the case, I kind of like the twist that they did here.
Mm-hmm.
That that they were supposed to be frogs all along. It was almost like a Shrek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Shrek.
Where the Fiona turns in. Instead of the true love turning Shrek human, it turned her into an ogre.
Exactly.
So,
Fiona.
Makes perfect sense.
Right, exactly, Fiona. But I'm getting a little long-winded here. Like I said, it's good that at least a few of us have seen the original. If anything needs to be spoken of as we go through the recap. Speaking of the recap, let's go ahead and get started. So Belfry joins the witch for some tea, but she wants her special brew. Something tells me it ain't Earl Grey. Downstairs, Lucy waits impatiently for her grandmother. They're late for ballet practice. Sabine shows up with some of her famous beignets for Lucy. Victoria finally arrives, and she lets Sabine know that the rent's been raised. At least it's not doubled. Belfry asks Ivy to gather some special herbs, and it's off to ballet. Many years ago, it's time for a castle yard sale. The king has raised taxes, and everything must go, except for Daddy's Firefly Ruby, that is. It's the only thing Tiana has to remember him by. Drizella has shown up to throw salt in the wound. Tiana can't believe it has come to this. Her mother tells her this is the only way they can stay afloat, unless, of course, she can find a prince. At Ronnie's, Rogers talks to Henry about his missing girl case. He's brought what evidence he has to Ronnie's for safekeeping. All but her journal. He likes to thumb through it from time to time. He leaves, which gives Ronnie a chance to ask about Ivy. Henry says they may be wrong about her. Ronnie tells him to be careful. Sabine visits Jacinda at work, and she tells her the good news. Rent's gone up, but she has an idea to help. It's beignet time.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. Takes us up to our first act break. Does anyone have anything? Monica, you had some points about the fashion in Tiana's land.
So why is it that they look like they're 1800s or so, but everyone else in either Enchanted Forest or quasi-Enchanted Forest land, it is a couple of centuries earlier?
Yeah, I understand it. You're saying like medieval.
I mean, is that just her kingdom and their fashion?
I'm guessing so. Yes, I mean that's how I would take it. Yeah. I mean, if you go by earlier shows, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. If you, to be honest with you, I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, you're right. It's almost as if this is like that. What was it? Story of Lost. Land of Lost Stories, where like it was just a bunch of like mismatched. Excuse me.
Yeah, even the other kingdoms we've seen within Enchanted Forest land, they still have kind of the same timeline in their fashion.
Even Marius even Marius or even Tiana, Marius and Tiana, but their villagers looked like some
right
New Orleans turn of the century.
Mostly the men.
I can understand what you're saying with the top hats and everything else.
To be honest with you, with the original story, actually, it seemed like it was kind of set like in the 20s, kind of.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah.
Which is,
well, yeah, again, like jazz and everything else. But either way, I understand what you're saying. This is supposed to be more or less in the same land as we've seen Cinderella from, but yet, you know, it yes, visually it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I could definitely see where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think they were kind of just trying to fit it in with this story that we know from, like Tony was just saying, that this is from, 20s or even turn of the century. I mean, it was somewhere, like the beginnings of jazz and everything. But I mean, it obviously wasn't 12, 13, 1400, wherever it looks like Cinderella. Now, obviously, these are all storybook lands anyway, so that kind of exist outside of time, just kind of exist as to when they were written. But in the past, that's kind of what separated the realms as to when they were written. You had like the Cinderella type realm, Snow White type realm. These were all stories that were written in the, around that time. Then you had like Alice in Wonderland's realm, which looked to be around about the same type of realm that like the Frankenstein, all of these realms took on the characteristics of the time they were written in.
I think we're going to just call that the black and white realm, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the land without color.
Yep, the land without color. Yep.
But I totally understand where Monica's coming from, and it does raise a very good point that I actually hadn't picked up on until she pointed out.
Definitely. I mean, it just kind of makes you think, like, at what time where, did this take place? I mean, to me, it just seemed like it was kind of like a kind of a modern day take, I guess, like modern old day take, like like you said, with the top hats and the the way that everybody looked as how they dress.
I think it's just something that they've kind of put to the wayside. They're not thinking about as they go forward. But like I said, Monica, it is actually a very good point that I hadn't even thought about. Elizabeth, do you have anything to add about that, or?
Not about that. It's separate. So I was sitting over here thinking about how the whole she needs to find a prince thing. It's not sitting well with me. And the reason for that is kind of because this whole show, all 7 seasons, always felt like they were promoting strong women who don't need a man. And even last season, I think it was, or maybe 2 seasons ago, I don't remember what season, when Henry was trying to convince Regina, and Emma was trying to convince Regina that she was in the book, in the author's book that he made, the dark book. Regina's like, my happy ending's not a man. And she was right. Love is important, of course, but that's not necessarily the happy ending. And so when Tiana is looking for a prince to fix everything for her, I'm like, wait a minute, this is not how the show has been. I just want to hear your thoughts on that, guys.
Well, I think it's touched upon later on in this episode when her mother gives her the talk and says, I was wrong in thinking exactly what you were just speaking, Elizabeth. I was forcing you to go out and find a man when, I should have realized that, you're enough. You to carry your father's legacy.
And especially on how, sorry, but I think we're going to be doing this for the rest of this episode, but we're going to be comparing it to the movie. In the movie, it was the other way around, actually. It was coming to hopefully marry into some more riches and to, because in the movie, his parents had, quote unquote, cut him off until he, married into another.
Oh, so he was the one. He was the one that was hard off, as it. Whereas Tiana is in this story. Okay.
Definitely, definitely, like in the movie, they made it seem like off of her character, saying, "Hey, she's tough, she's strong, she's fighting for what she wants," which was her restaurant in the movie. That was her goal, to have her own restaurant inspired by her father's recipes and their cookings and things like that, and their beignets. It's just that.
So that's from the movie as well.
Yes, actually, it was a very important ingredient. So I mean, like, I also wanted to say that too as well. I like how they imported something from the movie. So I mean, just because this is Once Upon a Time doesn't mean like Once Upon a Time can just make up its own story.
No, and I it's good that for fans of the movie, of the story, that they did bring on so many different aspects of the movie, even excuse me, what am I, 12? Even though they did of course put the once twist in there. So once again, I'm glad all of that got touched upon. Monica, you seemed that okay, hold on, I have to pull this back up here. I had to pull something else up. You were asking about the girl went missing 10 years ago this month. So you had some questions about Rogers.
The way Hook put it, or Rogers, about 10 years ago this month. You know what month it was, but you're not so sure about the year. Leave it. And why are you playing like that? You know it was exactly 10 years ago this month.
Well, obviously.
Why are you even abouting this mess?
And, you know how long timeline.
Oh, don't you even?
And
don't start with that evil T word.
The
Once timeline. You know how Jacob is. You know what? I really think that they have really overused the term many years ago. Okay, how many years are we talking about?
Yeah, that's all it keeps saying anymore.
Enough to fit it in.
Yeah, it's just vague enough to where they can say like, well, it was, it's I'm not even concerned with that anymore. But actually, on your last point here, Monica, I actually had the same thought on the second view through. Okay, so why does he have a gloved hand? Because I believe, like Monica pointed out here, like he's literally like he grabs the journal with one from the box with his bad hand, or with his good hand, whether, and then like hands it to the other hand and like walks out holding it with that hand. I'm like, well, wait a second. Does he have?
Not just that. We actually see him caress the journal with that.
Oh, like when he's going through the
hand.
When they're going through the pictures later, or what?
No, when he picks it up, and then he's looking at it, and just sort of this special moment of memory, and just thinking about her, and it's a really sweet, touching moment.
Right.
It's just that he's moving fingers that aren't supposed to be
right. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a prosthetic or whatever. At least that's what I was under the impression of.
Exactly, me too.
It was supposed to be prosthetic, and definitely was supposed to stay like this. Not
right. Well, I could see him having keep it like that, but whatever.
But no, he was very.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh look, it's alive!
Yeah, he
very much.
Oh my god.
So yes, Monica, some very good points. Monica or Elizabeth, did you have anything to add that we haven't touched upon from this first set of scenes?
No, I only viewed it once today. I viewed it earlier today, so I didn't see it a second time. So some of it I'm a little blurry about.
As to when it took place and everything like that. I understand.
I can't remember it all. Like, I wasn't paying attention to his hand as well as Monica sees the little details that I miss.
No,
and that's an awesome thing.
I did watch it twice, so.
I didn't catch it till the second time through either, but yes, Monica, you've been bringing up some very good points.
You're very detail-oriented, Monica, and that's amazing.
Thank you.
On to the
I was about to watch it the second time, but yeah.
Hey, that's why the recap is so detailed, so I can kind of refresh your memory as we go along.
Right.
Yes.
So Rogers returns to the precinct just in time to stop a scuffle. As the drunk is led off, Rogers recognizes a tattoo from the girl's journal. At Mr. Cluck's, Sabine tries to convince Jacinda that gambling with the rent money is a good idea. In the realms, Tiana looks for a soothsayer to help her find her prince and finds Dr. Facilier. Is that right? Is that how you pronounce that?
Yes.
It is an R.
You know what? It kind of sounds like Facilier or I think it's Facilier.
But he reads the bones and tells her that she will find her prince if she follows the Red Crow. In Seattle, Ivy brings Victoria the herbs she requested. She asks what they're for, and Victoria tells her that it's none of her concern. Ivy watches the camera as Belfry scans her finger to go to the secret tower. She calls Henry to tell him she may have some dirt on her mother. So quite a few things going on in that short little summary there. Monica, you had some concern about the doctor?
Oh, yeah, don't trust the voodoo doctor. No. No, I watched the movie. This is a bad idea.
I don't see why people think that a bougie doctor would be, quite, the correct answer. All of our problems.
Charlatan. He's a charlatan.
Come on.
Yes, and speaking of charlatan,
beyond just being a bad guy, because we watched the movie, what he said in that scene, I mean, that could have just been taken from the headlines of the local news.
Right.
I mean, however they get that from within their realm, he didn't really say anything that was. It was a total
it was a total
knowledge.
It was a total.
They have to have a printing press of some type.
It was a cold read. It was one of those things where it was like, I have a feeling that there's some person in your life that begins with a J that isn't feeling good.
Really?
It's like,
it wasn't even.
How do you know?
I know exactly what's been going on in your life because it's the talk of the town.
Well,
everyone knows what's going on.
Yeah. It wasn't like she was just some person. Yeah, he knew exactly what was going on. Because as soon as she walked up into this village, she was crowded by villagers that looked like zombies. I don't know what was up with that.
Like from the plague.
Right, Princess Tiana, help us, please. Like,
I honestly do not know what was up with that, but whatever.
Did anyone else get the Ursula cave vibe in that scene?
No, I wasn't.
You remember in Little Mermaid when Ariel goes into Ursula's cave and there's all those little former mer people that have been cursed, and they're reaching up to Ariel like, no, don't do it. Don't strike a deal with her.
So you're saying all these cages that Facilier had around were all of these other people that he had made deals with?
It gave me that feeling of that they had been.
Well, he even when he came and rescued Tiana, what he said to the villagers was something along the lines of, "Be off with you unless you want to slither or hop away." So obviously, this isn't the first time he's supposedly turned people into reptiles or amphibians,
or at least had the reputation to.
I really thought that the people that were in dire straits in that part of the kingdom and all the signs in his happily abode, would have tipped her off and say, "This is a bad idea. I don't think I should be here."
If some guy starts throwing bones onto a table, I think that's at least that would be the time that I'd be like, okay, and I'm out.
I don't know. And the fact that he can read those bones.
Or the second that he puts a bowl down and they jump back up into the bowl, it's like, okay. On that note, all right, Tony.
This is the land of magic.
This is true. Did they have magic? I thought that, or was it just Regina and Emma couldn't use magic in this land?
I think.
Because fairy. She stole the wand from the fairy, so there had to be magic in this land.
there's definitely magic in that land, but it just
we don't
seems
see
like
it used a lot, really.
yeah, not a lot.
Far.
Like what kind of enchanted forest is this? The non-enchanted forest?
Well, to be fair, they've never called it. They've never called it the Enchanted Forest. They've called this just the Realms.
Mm-hmm. It makes no sense.
Enchanted Forest Part 2.
Right. So, come up with some type of name.
This sequel.
It doesn't have to be called Enchanted Forest. It just has to be something magical. I don't know why that they haven't just said, because if you remember season 7, episode 1,
Mist Haven.
Wait. Season 7.
My bad. I realized it after you said, yeah.
Didn't they just say other realm or in the other realm?
That's what I'm saying. Yes, yeah. And yes. They never. They just called this the realm. Yeah, yes. That's why whenever I speak of it in the notes, I just call it the realms because they've, like you said, they've never. Before, we had the Enchanted Forest. Later, it was called like Mist Haven and Rivendell, and everything else were other parts of the Enchanted Forest. Or not. I said Riven. That's Lord of the Rings. I meant wherever for Snow or for Elsa and
Frozen Land.
Arendelle.
Arendelle, thank you. I knew it was something close to that. Okay.
I was like, where is he going with this?
Rivendell, Riverdale.
Riverdale. That's where I went.
We had an idea, of where all these lands were.
Exactly.
Whereas now it's just kind of a hodgepodge of
apparently Camelot is part of Enchanted Forest. It seems like, if you remember, because they didn't go that far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they just went somewhere deeper into the Enchanted Forest, or maybe
and I think even Mulan's
kingdom is a part of the Enchanted Forest. It's like, wait a minute, huh?
It's that version of Mulan.
But at the very least, we know, these different places. It gives us an idea, names them. We don't have any idea of the different names of like Cinderella's kingdom, Tiana's kingdom. Like all the all we know is it's just the realms.
Mm-hmm.
But,
what? I think that makes much more sense. Until they give them a name, we might as well call them the realms, the common realms that are in the show.
Right. It just if when I say realms, we know we aren't talking about Seattle.
Sure.
Yeah.
Unless they give us a name, it's going to be called a realm.
Did you have anything to add for this section, Tony?
Let me see here.
And anything about the herbs or the soothsayer?
Oh, none other than seeing cages and seeing bones being thrown on the table. Run.
Yeah, exactly.
Run.
Elizabeth, did we miss anything?
Run, Tiana, run for the wind.
Run, Tiana, run.
Run like the wind, bullseye. Oh wait, that's different.
Toy Story now. We ain't going there.
Yet, because I think they have touched on Pixar stuff before, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
And they did this episode too.
No, that's not Pixar though. If you're talking about what I think you're talking about, I don't think it is.
Really? Is it DreamWorks?
No, it's Disney.
No.
It's Disney.
Ooh,
You're talking about. We'll get to it. We'll get to it,
but I thought it was Pixar.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm sure. I'm
looking it up. Keep talking.
Okay. All right. I could be wrong. I don't. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, moving on. Henry tells Ronnie that Ivy called with dirt on Belfry. Ronnie doesn't understand why he is falling for her, literally, especially when Jacinda is right there. Henry asks her to back off. He runs to the bathroom and leaves his phone behind. Ivy texts him for a meetup, but Ronnie answers it before deleting them. It's kiss. Excuse me. Across town, it's kitchen montage as Sabine whips up her famous beignets. And thanks to social media, business is booming. Lucy comes by after ballet with some encouragement. Jacinda and Sabine dream of what could be. Farmer's market? No, food truck. In the realms, Tiana follows a red crow to a local tavern. She's confronted by a villager who's come to collect his own taxes when a prince comes to her rescue. He requests her for dinner and she obliges. In the Heights, Victoria has got her hand on some of those beignets. After just one taste, she knows what she must do. She makes a call to Ralph and tells him to wreck it. All right. So,
by the
I
way,
honestly
it's
didn't hear that.
Disney Animation Studios. By the way, Bobby.
You missed
I
it.
thought so.
I missed it. My boyfriend had to tell me about it.
I laughed so
I haven't even
hard.
seen that movie and I caught it.
I laughed so
I think
hard.
I think I was literally on the third, like when I was doing these notes on the third watch through, when because the first time I was like, who's Ralph?
That's what I had to think.
Like,
It was like, wait a minute.
Why are they making it a point to point out to like show Ralph on her thing? Because she never says the name. They just show the name
Yes,
on.
she does.
Oh, does she? Okay, well.
Yeah, she
I'm
was
certain.
like, she was like, "Hi, Ralph."
Because it's not a person we've ever met, though, right?
Not yet, but they're in this episode
that we know of. I have a
That's
suspicion.
true. That's true. That's true, because we don't see the guy in the restaurant or anything. But anyway, yeah, it was like the third watch through before I realized Ralph Wreck-It. Oh, okay.
I laughed so hard. I was like, wait a minute, pause.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
you didn't.
I mean, and usually I kind of got to do an eye roll and geez, are you serious? But I've got to say that that one was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Hey, Ralph, do you know that place where the beignets are being sold?
Yeah, wreck it.
I need you to wreck it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was that was
on the nose there.
I know, but usually I hate the on the nose things, but that was on the nose, and it was so on the nose. It was
in an unexpected way.
Very unexpected.
It was so on the nose that it took a second for it to actually process what they were doing.
I really want to know though. Sorry to cut you off again, but I would love to know if well, you know what? No, actually, I'll save that.
Okay.
Because I hope there's a point to point out who Ralph is.
Yeah. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Unfortunately, I think it's one of those things. It's just going to be a throwaway thing.
I just really hope that what he signifies. That's a certain mark.
Okay.
You know what I mean is important.
Okay.
Because it's actually one of the drone. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, the other kind of jokish thing that I kind of had to laugh at myself upon a second viewing here was when the Prince Marius or whatever was like, "Call me Robert." I mean, Robert Ribbit. I mean, that couldn't have been a mistake, right?
Yeah. Anything else?
On that.
At first when they introduced him, I really thought that they were going to sit there and not actually cast the right type of person for Prince Naveen.
Am I wrong though? Is that reaching? Is that reaching? Do you think that they?
I think it's reaching.
I mean,
you think when they said "Call me Robert," it was like Ribbit Robert? I don't know. I think that's totally a joke that the writers,
but not really.
Honestly, when he comes up to save her, that whole scene, I'm thinking, don't trust him because it's too again on the nose.
Too convenient, yeah.
It's too convenient that Dr. Basilia was like, "Go to this place. The prince will be there," and then there he is. I'm like, "Oh, that's a setup." I knew from the beginning. Sorry.
That's just the same thing as if we want to go back to similar scenarios, that's just the same thing when Anna met Hans. Hey, I was looking for somebody cool too. You too? let's get married. Okay.
Love is an
Yeah,
open
let's trust the
door.
new guy. Right. By a Love is an Open Door song later, we're engaged. But, no. Don't trust the new guy. Let's tell you everything.
Monica, you had some questions about Facilier's prophecy, I guess is what it is. I don't know. About his Red Crow and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay, so when Tiana goes to Facilier, it's daylight, and he says, "Follow the Red Crow."
Right.
And then the next time we see her, it's dark. He says, "There's no such thing as a Red Crow."
Right. It's like a snipe hunt.
Like,
took you long enough.
How sheltered are you?
Sorry.
And
like,
then, of course, she finds the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But,
and like,
yeah,
did either
Tavern.
A tavern, yeah.
Did either of those
Same thing.
crows look red to you guys or no?
I mean, no. Those were
Right,
black
yeah,
crows.
I didn't see I didn't see any red crows at all. But yeah.
For a second, I was thinking that we were going to meet this realm's version of, wait for it, Iago. Red, you know, Red Bird.
Oh yeah, okay.
I thought we were going back because that was the first thing.
Or it could have just been literally Gilbert Gottfried, like in the tavern, like hello.
Oh yeah,
Oh my god.
And then it made much more sense when the tavern's name came up, Crimson Crow.
Yeah. You had
But Iago was a parrot.
Awesome.
no, but
Yeah,
it was a red, but he was a prominently red bird, though. I understood what Tony was going for.
Yeah.
You had some other questions about Ivy and the beignets.
Oh, so when Lucy came in and she just plops it down there. Okay, where's the ink pad?
I thought the same thing on the second viewing. She just grabs this ink pad from her backpack and just stamps the thing, and it's like
her backpack must be so ink.
Yeah.
How do you have? I'm like, how much ink is on the inside of her backpack?
Yeah.
Now?
How do you have ink on that already? This should have just been like a puddle of ink when she picked up the backpack, just like sitting underneath her backpack.
Hey guys, guess what?
What's up?
It's called TV.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Something that makes too much sense to happen is definitely a TV plot hole. You know, this ink thing automatically works.
But then, Monica, you also had a question about, I guess, where Belfry got the beignets from.
Oh, who went and fetched them? I mean, because it's not going to be Ivy.
I would guess it
like that.
I'm guessing it was Ralph.
That woman's not going to do it herself.
Ralph picked up some beignets on his way out the door.
Yeah, I think Ralph brought them to her.
But okay, that may be the case. But how? Because it seems like when she first calls Ralph, it's the first time. It feels like it's the first time her contacting him. You know what I'm saying?
She also says, do you know that place that's selling beignets?
Beignets.
Thank you. But
that means that he wouldn't have been able to do it then.
Yeah, but like he knew where the beignet shop was, and this was like a pop-up that, like, you know, was supposed to be like some like how would you even know where this place was at unless you had been there? I don't know.
Convenience of TV.
Convenience of TV or a town's.
Where do they advertise on local cable?
Yeah, that or. Hey, again, TV explanation.
No, I hear you.
That's what I was going for. Just move the plot along.
It could be TV.
Yeah, I did question it at first, but then it was kind of like, what's the point?
it's either that or when she thought about it, she probably, before she told Jacinda about it, Sabine was probably out, already putting posters and saying, so when I bring this up to Jacinda, she's not going to have any other choice but to say yes, because I already made posters, maybe. I mean, she had enough time to do it. Think about it. She was in the office, gave beignets to Lucy, because I think that's actually how she came about them. She gave beignets to Lucy. Lucy sat them down.
But the bag that Victoria had
stamp on it yet.
Firefly.
Yeah.
On it.
And when Sabine brought that bag to Lucy in the beginning of the episode, she hadn't created that stamp yet.
Right.
Hey, I'm just trying to make sense of how in the world she got the beignets.
She has them. Let's move on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Tony, Elizabeth, did you have anything to add? Either one?
Nope.
Let me see. There was one point about. Let me see. I think it was. Crap! I forgot what I was going to say. Crap. Hold on. Just give me 1 second. And I forgot. Okay. I hate when that happens because it was a very good question too.
Well, if it comes up in the course of conversation, feel free to, if you remember it, feel free to pop in with it.
I definitely will.
So, where were we at? At the precinct, Rogers has some questions for the bloke with the tattoo. He says it's from a previous stay in prison. It's supposed to ward off evil. He warns Rogers to be careful with such powerful ruins. The line continues to grow at Mr. Cluck's. As they celebrate their future prosperity, they smell smoke. And where there's smoke, there's fire. I shouldn't have tried to yell like that.
That sounds like a blonde way of saying fire. We ain't want to get out.
Tiana enjoys an evening with the prince. He seems pretty interested in her father's ruby. He sees himself off when she notices the ruby is missing. She asks why a prince would have to steal. He confesses that he is no prince. Facilier kidnapped his true love, and now he's a man and she's a frog. If he brought Facilier the ruby, he would set his love free so they could be together. And he asked for her help, but she orders him to leave. Later, Tiana talks to her mother about how naive she's been. Her mother confesses that she has kept her sheltered from the real world, but seeing her take action has made her realize that that was a mistake. She sent her in search of a hero to fulfill her father's legacy when she should have helped her to find it within herself. As firemen stand outside what is left of Mr. Cluck's, Jacinda confronts Sabine. She tells Jacinda that this is just a mild setback. Jacinda tells her it's time to face reality. Sabine gives her the money from the beignets and says she'll move out. Okay. So, Monica, we'll go ahead and start with you. Good question. So you have a theory as to just who Ralph might be.
I'm wondering if it's that redheaded guy, but on my second watch through, he got released from the police in time to do the arson. I don't know if
now that you mentioned it, I think he would have been in jail when it happened.
Might not have been able.
Right. But obviously, there's something behind whatever's going on with him.
Right, yeah.
You also had another very good point about the fire in the restaurant.
Oh, you're a restaurant. Not only are you a restaurant, you have deep fryers. I do not have fire extinguishers.
Very
Come
good.
on!
Or
I know
even
her using what did she use to try to pull out that fire? It was like, oh, she was not
Right?
good at fire.
he was
I think-
literally fanning the fire.
He pulled
It
Yeah.
was like
an
Honestly,
alarm.
TV is at fault once again. I think TV was really at fault with this episode that night. You
And
guys.
the alarm that should have set off some sort of sprinkler system.
Yes, exactly.
Before any eternal damage.
In fact, the
Mhm.
fire itself should have set off the sprinkler system because that's how it works. When it gets to a certain like heat, then the sprinkler systems just pop open. There's like a little the way those sprinkler systems work is there's like a little gauge in there that like moves up and down depending on the temperature. And if it gets to say 200 degrees, which a room is never going to get to, then unless there's a fire going on, then they open and the water just shoots out of them.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that this restaurant was up to code for that, but
yeah,
apparently it wasn't.
Really
yeah.
not.
I
So,
think
really,
Mr. Cluck is Mr.
I think Lucky
Sailor.
cut the fire extinguisher stuff for the alarm for the insurance money. Like he knew something like this was going to happen eventually. He's like, screw this. I need the money. I'm going to go off to a manager's meeting and something's going to happen. he's in on it with Victoria.
Gotta be.
Oh man. But yes, all very good points, Monica. You are definitely on the ball this episode. You actually did again had another point here about Jacinda. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the fire goes off, and then Jacinda just runs off and grabs Lucy and then comes back.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was because Lucy had to be there for the fight
in the story
for the plot reasons.
Right.
But it didn't make sense.
No, I totally agree. I totally
didn't
agree
think about that. I didn't even add that up.
Yeah. Like, and then how far away, like, it was almost as if Jacinda was like, where's Lucy? She's got to see this.
Exactly.
She's got to see me fight with my friend, aka her aunt, her play aunt.
Instead of just being happy that she wasn't there at the fire, it was like, no, she's got to see all of this go down. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Once again, like you said, like she had to be there plot wise, but really, if you think about it, it makes like absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Mom, Sabine, don't do this. Where are you gonna go?
like I said, where did Lucy? Like Lucy was like supposedly Lucy was with her grandmother at that point, I guess.
Yeah, suppose. Yeah.
Well, you know how she gets around and sneaks out.
Yeah, don't even get me started with just how like loosely they just let like what seems to be like a 9-10-year-old girl just like run around and do like whatever she wants, wherever she wants, and like I would almost give it clearance if this was like a small town like Storybrooke, but we're talking about like a suburb of Seattle. So yeah, that's. Yeah.
But
the way she's just like her father.
Doesn't care at all anyway.
It really doesn't seem like, because if she did care, she would not let, she would be well aware of what Lucy will be doing out of, the apartment towers or complex or whatever they want to call it.
No, I totally understand. Yeah. Once again, this is so far this season, that's one of the handful of things that I've kind of had to make myself forget as I watch the episodes, because it's like every time, like she just comes and goes as she pleases. Sometimes she's being cared for, sometimes she's not. That
was Henry, wasn't that? Like
she in a way she is just like her father.
That's true.
Like
that's
her father.
True.
She is her father's daughter. Her father's daughter.
But to me, it just seems a bit more pronounced with her.
Well, no, I mean, think about it. They have different
like I said,
many similarities.
Oh no, very many.
Henry goes down into an old mine shaft. Don't care. There's danger. I want to see if there's something down there. His daughter goes down a well pit. I don't care. I'm trying to prove a point. I'm seeming to appear everywhere the plot is going, so I'll be actually in the show instead of in the beginning of the show and at the end of the show. I'm important. I'm a plot.
I don't know. Like I said, with Henry, maybe I just gave it clearance because it was such a small town. So there wasn't. But with I don't know.
It does feel like more of an issue when it's a bigger place with more danger. You just equate small towns to safety, and this isn't that.
Oh no, and they've made a point to show that as well.
When we actually think about it, on how they say in the recap of season 1, season 1 to 2, or I think when they were mainly really heavy storybook stories. When they say in a little town called Maine, you do realize they do nothing but show the strip and Regina's house throughout the whole season. The strip, like the storybook strip, the familiar strip that we know, and Regina's house. So, how small is this city? How small is Hyperion Heights? Because it just seems like they're mirroring the same thing.
Well, as far as how small Hyperion Heights was, like I didn't even realize until one of the exterior shots in this episode, they like showed an exterior shot of like Ronnie's. So like you saw like the sign for Ronnie's bar, and then like just beyond the sign for Ronnie's bar was the precinct. So like they're literally like,
they're right across the street.
From each other.
Ronnie's bar down the street on the left.
From the precinct. Exactly.
Off to the right, and then off to the right of the precinct.
It makes you wonder, like it must be like just behind Tower is Belfry Developments, and then just to the right is the tower they're building.
And then you got more off to the right of the precinct, the Troll Bridge.
Right. No, but it's all within like a 3-block radius.
So when they say in a little town called Storybrooke or in a little town called Hyperion Heights,
it's more or less the same thing.
It really feels like a tiny borough.
Exactly.
Yes, borough. Borough is actually a very good word for it, Monica. Actually, yes, very good word. Did you have Tony? Did you say what you wanted to add about the Tat guy?
Yeah. So the Tat guy, I don't know if we had already said it or admitted it, but Ralph is the Tat guy.
Okay, so you see, we said that earlier. We kind of feel like there's a little bit of fluctuation there with the timeline of when he would have been in jail and when the restaurant would have been wrecked.
But see, the thing is that when she was on the phone with him, with Ralph. They show, after he got out of the precinct and everything, we see that it's the same guy. He has the Tat, and the thing that makes me want to point this out is, could Ralph be quote unquote a part, Belfry's henchman of eyes, because it kind of makes you wonder, like, if Snow could have the doors, why can't Belfry have, a couple of henchmen herself under that same insignia? Because we haven't seen the insignia,
I have a feeling. I have a feeling that that if he's going to be working for anyone, it'll be Ivy or Drizella or whatever, rather than Victoria. Because I think that when we see him answer that phone and tell her, or what he says later on in the episode, I feel like we're supposed to be under the impression that he's calling Belfry, but
But you think it's Ivy instead?
Or not even necessarily Ivy, maybe even a person that we haven't even met yet. Because this could just have to do with the disappearance of, you know, with which we'll probably find out very shortly, because like next week we have what's the name of the episode?
I haven't even seen the promo for next week.
I haven't seen it either.
Me either.
Wake Up Call. Wake Up Call. The next episode is called Wake Up Call.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
And it's going to be pretty much dealing with the aftermath of Ronnie finding that photograph that we'll talk about here in a second.
That photograph.
Yeah.
I had one more. I had one more thing, and it's just much more of a I like kind of point. So
go ahead.
Just quickly, I like how basically you notice that when a character has a mother in their life on this show, it kind of goes in two ways. Either the mother is loving or the mother is manipulative. I'm glad that Tiana's mother, owned up to her mistakes, because sometimes the mother characters in these shows either say what they're going to say, and it's either good or bad.
And it did seem that in her way she did seem a bit manipulative, I guess, because she told her,
exactly.
I've told you only about your father's successes, almost implying that I'd never told you about, his failures.
And I liked how she owned up to her mistake, because then you have people like Cora, which basically manipulated Regina basically all her life, saying love is weakness, love is this, love is that. At least Tiana's mom came in behind and said, hey, I apologize. I should have told you more than about your father's successes, and not, more about his attempts and failures than just his successes.
Right.
And then also about finding a prince.
Right. It made Tiana have to search for something unreachable.
Exactly.
Yeah, her mother really felt like a multifaceted, fallible, three-dimensional person.
Right, and
exactly.
Even in only the 20 minutes of airtime. In the 20 minutes of airtime.
Especially given how little airtime she got.
Right, yeah. So, I think, guest appearance by Robin Givens. But yeah, I thought that she did very well with the character. I thought that the character was written well, and was able to touch upon some of the things that Elizabeth brought forth in the beginning of the episode, that this episode, or the show, really is about strong female characters, not necessarily having to find their true prince.
And
and that did irritate me when she went off on that. I'm like, no, that's not what
this is not supposed to be about, I mean,
I was like, okay, you made up for it.
Definitely. I really liked how it didn't take a couple seasons if she was that important to be, and that long of appearances. I'm glad that it only took one episode to clear that air, saying, hey, I'm sorry, let's clear the air, let's do this, instead of a couple seasons where it took Cora 2-3 seasons just to tell her that, hey, you would have been enough, I love you, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Love is strength, is this,
but sometimes you have to build to that, and I think that's what Monica was touching on, that they did a good job of not necessarily having to build to that. They showed the character arc and the character development in this character, even in the short amount of time that they had to do so.
Definitely. I'm surprised that her mother isn't in Hyperion Heights.
We don't know that yet. That's what I was just going to say. We don't know that yet. Yeah.
It kind of makes you think, either is she gone?
Well, not only that, but that.
No, because she was going to go to her mother's when she was leaving Jacinda's.
Yeah,
but who knows if she's
that's do we even know that that's her mother, that mother?
True. True. We don't know it's the same person.
Right.
it just has to make you think that is she even going to be that important to even be shown? You know?
I don't know. I mean, it is, you know, to put such a prominent actor in that role, it does make me feel like I wouldn't be surprised if she happened to pop up again.
Mhm.
But let's move on with the rest of the episode. Ivy gussies up for Henry when Ronnie shows up. She wants to Ivy is gussing up for Henry when Ronnie shows up. She wants to I lost my place here. Sorry, guys. Let me start from square one. Ivy's gussing up for Henry when Ronnie shows up. She wants to know what Ivy is up to. She says she's just trying to stand up to her mother. Ronnie tells her to prove it. They trek up to the tower, but Witchy Poo is nowhere to be found. Just no, you're fine. You're fine. Just when the trip seems like a total loss, Ronnie notices something sticking out of a control panel. Across town, Sabine packs up as Lucy begs her to stay. She tells Lucy that some fights just can't be won. In the realms, Tiana returns to Facilier to rescue Robert's true love. He tells her he just needed the ruby to free himself and goes about doing so. In return, she can leave with her life. She refuses and he retaliates with a voodoo doll. She gets the jump on him and he uses the ruby to vanish just before making an ominous threat. In Seattle, Jacinda finds Sabine to tell her Lucy has convinced her that she was wrong. She used the money to buy a food truck with a little help from Rogers, and together they can make this happen. Okay, at this point, I'm almost positive that there's going to be a shipping thing for like Tiana and Jacinda.
Oh, of course. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had like...
If they're not just close friends, you know, very close friends, like,
yeah,
you know,
but it's supposed to be Henry and Jacinda.
I know, but so many people from the beginning have already been talking about how there's no chemistry whatsoever between Henry and Jacinda as far as the actors go. And so just knowing this show and knowing its fandom and knowing its, you know, shipping wars and everything, I am surprised that I haven't already been, you know, flooded with like, you know, Jacinda, Tiana. I don't know what their shipping name would be. Jacinda, Gianna. I don't know.
Gianna. I don't know.
I'm telling you, it's out there. I know it is.
I really.
Cinderella,
right? Or Cinderella, or I don't know.
Oh yeah, I guess
to be honest with you, I really hope that in the end, yes, if these two are supposed to be married in the past, you know, in their quote unquote enchanted forest, if they're supposed to be together, you know, I really hope that their chemistry, you know,
now you're talking better. Are you talking about Henry and Jacinda, or Henry and Jacinda?
So yes, I really hope that Henry and Jacinda's on-screen chemistry gets better, because it just seems like, you know, the reason probably why their chemistry doesn't work on screen yet is because they're like two souls, you know, finding out about each other and they're getting to know each other.
Yeah, maybe that's the actors playing it that way.
Yeah.
And going back to season 1, Snow and Charming didn't really feel like a couple.
No, not at all.
At first.
Mm-hmm. You know, it was
maybe we're in that stage of this relationship.
I really do hope so.
We'll see. Let me be clear. It's not something I think the writers are going for as far as Jacinda and Sabine are concerned. I was just making note of, you know, more than likely that branch of the fandom being out there.
Oh, they're gonna I think they're doing more than just them two as well. Henry and Ivy.
I could see that.
That's another one. That's another one. Ivy and Ivy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a very good name. That's a very good name, Ivy.
Ivy. I would not like.
No,
I don't know. A lot of people are hoping that happens.
Really?
And
I hadn't even seen that.
No,
Okay.
I've seen that in a couple of posts somewhere. And I really hope and pray that does not
Well,
happen.
especially after tonight, I really hope that is nipped in the bud. Monica, we've kind of been going off a little bit here, but you had a point to make about Facilier, Dr. Voodoo.
The knife when he stabbed the voodoo doll, and
she knocked over the table.
Knocked over the table. He seemingly rather deliberately shoved that knife under some straw, or under something.
That whole sequence, I
about that knife, that little tiny 2-inch knife.
I watched that sequence like 3 or 4 times to try to watch exactly what was going on there, like how she was able to do what she did and what that meant, like why he didn't just grab the knife and start hitting the doll again, like all of that. I didn't quite understand exactly why that scene played out the way it did, but I just kind of eventually chalked it up to, like, as we've mentioned before earlier in this discussion, of just that this is where the story had to go, so it just went there.
Yeah, I mean, again,
maybe we'll find out next episode.
I hope so too. Again, but with a movie comparison, Dr. Facilier was actually hoping that the guy's daughter would marry, Naveen's right hand man, and he actually had a voodoo doll of the father and was doing the prank him. So there was a comparison with that.
Okay. And then I guess here's a question. One, do you think we'll see Facilier again?
I hope so.
Oh yes,
because he escaped.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's not like he went to the other side and just stayed there.
How did he compare, just the character himself, to the animated tale?
To me, it seemed like it was spot on. I mean, he had the same gestures. He was just as creepy and and
Do you
magical.
think the actor did a good job portraying him?
Oh, definitely. I would say so. Out of 5, I'd give him a 4.5.
Okay.
I think
Monica,
it could have been creepier, but yeah.
Okay.
Could have been, yeah.
Again, I'm going off nothing more than like the trailer. I think I may have seen the trailer years ago. Elizabeth, did you have anything to add before we moved on?
No, sorry, I'm kind of quiet this evening.
Don't worry about it. I just wanted to make sure. I want to make sure that you feel that your input is added.
Thank you.
So,
I don't have a lot of input this episode. I don't know why.
Were you a fan of the movie or no?
Yeah, it's a good movie, but I've only seen it like a handful of times, so I haven't.
Okay, so
I don't know it by heart like I would Beauty and the Beast.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this. Is this was no like Beauty and the Beast for you?
It's a good movie. Don't get me wrong. It's just not one I own. I don't own it. There's one princess movie I don't own that I need to own.
I do, definitely, and it's a very good movie. It definitely deserves a sequel, in my opinion. I mean, the movie came out in 2009.
How the only way I could get it streaming, so I've only seen it once last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still really fresh on my mind when I saw this episode.
Okay.
After the first watch, I actually watched it again.
Oh wow!
So good.
All right.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Yeah.
I guess I will have to watch it then.
Yes.
So Tiana finds Robert.
It's a tearjerker.
As most Disney movies are. Most Disney movies are.
True.
So Tiana finds Robert to reunite him with his true love. She asks him for their help in starting. Hold on. My thing is like. my thing kind of froze up for a second. Let me just.
Oh.
There we go. All right, start over square one for a second there. Sorry, guys. Take two. Oh wait, we're live. Tiana finds Robert to reunite him with his true love. She asks for their help in starting her resistance. He would love to if he could. He kisses his true love and transforms back into a frog as they swim away together happily ever after. In the Heights, Sabine brings Roger some I cannot say this word, beignets, to thank him for the help. He tells her the fire was deliberate, but no evidence as to who said it. But he has a pretty good guess. Outside, the bloke from earlier makes a mysterious call to tell someone that someone's looking for the girl. At Ronnie's, she confesses to Henry that she answered his phone and met with Ivy. Oh, we might be able to trust her, but that's not important. She shows him a picture she found in the tower. She has no memory of the picture and has no idea who the kid is. Henry tells her it's him. Ivy goes up. Thank you. Ivy goes up to the tower alone. She finds it seemingly empty when she's startled by the witch, which is odd because apparently she's the one who asked her to hide. It seems as though the two have been working together the whole time. They've even fooled Victoria. The witch tells Ivy all is going according to plan. She reminds the witch that it's not Ivy. Call me Drusilla.
So I want to know how many people are awake. Dang it.
Right?
How many people are awake?
Officially just one.
No, it's
Victoria.
It's Rumple. Yeah. Rumple's now awake, and Drusilla. So that's three people.
Yeah.
But my comment is that this is where I'm awake now.
Okay.
Okay. So in the very first curse and all the curses leading up to this one, basically it's usually one person that's awake, and that's usually the person that casts it. Not always, right. But casts one curse, and then he forgot he cast it. But usually it's the person who casts the curse that's awake or something like that. Mm-hmm. So now we have two people awake. Rumple doesn't count in this because he obviously didn't cast the curse because he was asleep. Now he's awake, so that he doesn't count. So one of them, or maybe there's another person that's awake. It's like they never have this many people awake. So it's like, oh, this is a new twist.
Yeah, this is a bit different. I mean, this is once with the once twist.
Once with the once twist.
I like how it's not taking them a long time to wake up. That's dragging. If that's one thing that I did absolutely not like about season one, and there's only so little number of things that I did not like, was overall it was great. But is that the fact that it's not taking anybody long to wake up. And here we are only in episode 5.
Well,
three people are woken up.
Yeah, and like I said, the next episode is called Wake Up Call.
Boom.
So, which is going to be dealing with the ramifications of this picture. So I think at the very least, like I said, from just what I saw of the coming, the promo for next week, it looks like at the very least Regina is going to start, having an inkling as to what's going on. I think in the promo, literally what Henry says to Regina or to Ronnie is, "That's my mom, and she's the evil queen." I guess referring to his book that he wrote, but that's how he describes the picture to Ronnie.
Wait, in the promo?
Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that.
I really hope.
And then it talks about something about like how do you react when you the most evil person to have ever lived.
Say that again because it froze.
You froze.
It says something. The promo goes on to say something along the lines of, "How do you react when you find out that you may be the most evil person to have ever lived?"
Damn.
And and it shows like a bunch of like Regina doing evil things. You know what I'm saying?
Killing a village.
Right. Yeah. Don't even get me started. Exactly. But yeah, so yeah, it looks like at the very least Regina may be having a wake up call, if not Henry. And then excuse me, and then the episode after that is called Eloise Garden, which is the name.
There's only going to be 10 episodes this half
before
of the
the
season.
hiatus. Yes, before.
There's only 10 episodes, so we're halfway through already.
Yes, through the first part, right?
It seems like it's going so fast.
The next episode is going to be called what I just said, Wake Up Call, and then the episode after that is Eloise Garden. And I believe the 10th episode is called Witches, which will probably be where we start to learn what's going on with this witch before I think that more than likely we'll find out that the witch is really the one who's in control of everything, even though she's being locked up in this tower. So we saw at the end of this thing where Ivy's like, oh, Victoria thinks she's in power, but really I'm in control. But then the witch is thinking to herself, no.
They are in control.
I'm like 8 steps ahead of all y'all. You don't even understand. I'm locked up in this tower. So I think that's where it's going to go. I think that come the hiatus that we'll learn that Victoria.
I have a question for you though, Bobby. I
Go
have
ahead.
a question for you. So my thing is that if let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that she's the creator of this curse.
The witch?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hypothetically. So let's just say if she is in this curse. Why do the big villains have to feel like they have to put themselves in like the worst position in a curse to be I'm 8 steps ahead of everyone, even though I've basically told the curse to tie myself up in the lowest stature, so don't nobody see or recognize.
As far as this one is concerned, I would say that more than likely this is just me. More than likely, Drizella came to this witch to help her prove to her mother her worth. You see that little twinge in Ivy/Drizella at the end when the witch is like, she may not see your worth, but I do. And then Drizella almost like smiles for a second and then kind of just shrugs it off and goes on with what she's saying. So I think that more than likely Drizella came to the witch for help in enacting whatever, what the curse was supposed to do or why she did it. That's kind of still up in the air for me, but I feel like Ivy or Drizella was the one that more than likely was the one who cast the curse, or at least was the one who was looking to cast the curse and found the witch to cast the curse. And then the witch, seeing the opportunity, took okay, I'll cast your curse, but you don't know that, I'm doing this for me. You know what I'm saying? So she had to hide behind 8 layers of, locked in a tower, just even like Ivy says at the end, continue playing the charade to the end.
Yeah, I mean, there was just so many. Definitely. I mean, there's just still so many, holes to steal and stories to be told before we even know or come close to knowing who casted this curse. Because still, we can say it may be the witch, it may be Ivy, or Drizella. Or
it's all speculation.
Yeah, always speculation. Or we can, or it could be a person that hasn't been casted yet.
Yeah, we very well may not have met the person who is responsible for this curse.
And if so, it is too early. It is way too early and too easy.
On the Ivy witch dynamic, clearly Ivy, Giselle, whatever you want to call her, she respects the witch. Because of what you said, Bobby, when the witch says, "Oh, she doesn't she might not see you as a good girl, but I do. And that smile, that, to me at least, that was a yes, someone finally sees my worth.
You're right. And unfortunately, more than likely, that's just the witch playing her.
Desperate internal monologue in just that tiny smile.
Exactly. And
she quickly tried to cover.
Mm-hmm. But unfortunately,
it was there.
Unfortunately, I feel like the witch is just pushing her buttons.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything that the witch was sincere about.
Mm-hmm. Like she may be also be stroking her ego because then she probably notices.
In the end, more than likely, you know, there'll be a scene where the witch was like, you know, you thought you were playing them as a fool when you've been playing a fool this whole time.
This whole time, you know. Twist, turn of events.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Hey, spoiler
exactly.
alert,
The one person who you thought might have seen your worth is the one person who you know,
playing you.
Yeah,
and
proving what Victoria has said, that like you're capable of so much, but you know if it goes down this road, you know, you look at everything you've done to lead up to this, but yet you were so naive. You've just been played this whole time. You were capable of so much, but fell short.
But see, that's the whole thing with Victoria as well too. When it all comes down to it, if the witch is playing them both, then she really doesn't have the audacity to talk like that to her daughter when she's also been at fault.
Mm-hmm.
It would just seem like, okay, well, you talking down your daughter, like saying like, well, you've been playing the fool too, like, but so have you, thinking that you own this place,
No, and I think that's what ultimately will happen, is that they'll both be played, and what's her name? Victoria Tremaine, whatever, her eyes will open to the fact that she's ignored, you know what I'm saying? Like, I doubt Anastasia will ever wake up.
Mm-hmm. And if so, probably not for long, because it could be one of those Peter Pan deals.
Yeah,
I sound like a zombie if she does wake up.
Yeah, I just don't see it. Because we haven't heard like anything about like who it would be, or haven't seen any flashbacks or anything to this point. And so I just
have we even seen her face?
No,
under her cloak.
No,
So it may just be a stand-in, and so she is quote unquote cast.
That's what I'm saying.
So
it's just I doubt there'll even be a cast. That's what I'm saying. I doubt we'll ever actually see this girl even in flashback.
And if so, she may be in the other half when she's actually.
Oh well, yeah. At the very least, it will be the other half, because, like we said, we're already halfway through these 10 episodes, and we haven't heard neither nor hair as far as casting or anything like that goes.
Mm-hmm. And I'm also sorry. I also had gotten a few key points on the next few episodes that are coming up and who's coming in, where. Like Rapunzel's coming up soon, I believe. I don't remember which episode, but she's coming up soon. And so is Elena.
Who is that again?
Oh, that's news. I got that for news.
Awesome.
Do you have some news? Okay, good. Yeah, I have a few points in there as well, but we'll come to that. Is there anything anyone wanted to add before we moved on to questions for the episode?
Just Victoria's takedown of Ivy in that last scene.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
Could that woman make me hate her anymore? Seriously, that was brutal.
Yeah, and there's no reason for it. Like, I don't see any.
Exactly.
There hasn't been anything we've seen in flashbacks or anything that shows like
that can lead up to that.
Why does she hate Drizella, other than the fact that she's not Anastasia?
I think that's the biggest part. She believes that her daughter Anastasia was a pure of heart, and she could do no wrong. And now she's settled with her other daughter Drizella, which she is, you know, time and time again each week tearing down. And it's like, okay, so basically, basically you're digging your own grave. So if she betrays you, you like,
yeah, you did it.
You did it.
I would love to see a story that if we, like I said, even if we have a real, I think it really is just, it's not, she's not Anastasia.
Mm-hmm. No. And I really hope that still by her being her mother's daughter, even though she's putting up this front saying, hey, basically when Henry was being rescued by Hook and Regina, like, oh, like, I know that you seem nicer, you're this, you're that. And she's like, no, I'm really not. Or, I think she was basically still putting on a front because Henry has woken up that little nicer side of her, appreciating her and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope towards the end, when everything's been said and done, and everybody's woken up from this quote unquote curse, I really hope Ivy makes a turnaround and is nicer.
Yes,
because it makes perfect sense for somebody getting treated like absolute trash forever. I mean, like, to be honest with you, I really think that this version of Lady Tremaine is much, much more brutal in a sense of character, tearing down and mean and so cold, other than the other one. The other one was just like despicable because, she's the regular Lady Tremaine, but this one's like, whoa. Each week you got an insult for your own daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't just Cinderella that she was tearing down.
Mm-hmm.
It's everyone around.
In fact, she doesn't. I mean, in fact, she almost treats Ivy worse than she treats Jacinda.
Exactly. Like, wait a minute. Yeah. She got this backwards.
All right. So,
wow.
If there wasn't anything else to add, I'm going to move on to. Is there any questions? I guess that were actually answered on this episode. That we did have. I mean, I guess we know now that Drizella, the question we had, but now that just adds 2 or 3 more questions to the list of questions we have now.
Alice wasn't even a factor
before of
episode.
Is there any other questions that were answered in this episode? Anything that we weren't aware of that we are now? Can anyone think of anything? If not, we'll just move on to questions. Okay, so we do know, however, that so we still don't know where the curse came from or who cast the curse, like we were just speaking of. We still don't know. We probably will never learn of that little passing conversation Tremaine and Wishhook had, as far as like it seemed like they had some sort of past together, even though they're from different lands. Because Wishhook isn't from this land; he's from the Wish realm.
It kind of makes you wonder, actually, like, little theory. It kind of makes you wonder, like, wait a minute, the Wish realm technically didn't exist until it was created.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I guess
they have ever had a time to create that past yet.
I feel like in general that's how all the lands here are. They don't exist until they're created. But then at that point, even when they some of them are created with a history, it just depends on how the author's written it.
Exactly.
But that being said, who is Wishhook's daughter? My money is on Tilly / Alice. Better hand on that with no pun intended. With so sorry. With the episode Eloise Gardner that we'll get like the week after next. We still really don't know what's going on with Alice or / Tilly. Rumple we didn't even get in this episode, but now that he's awake, I think that we hopefully will get a better idea as to what's going on with him. I'm really hoping that before these 10 episodes are out, that we'll at the very least know how, like, you know, the main characters got to where they are, how the curse was enacted, why it was enacted, all that kind of stuff. I really hope that doesn't linger on into the next season, or next half season rather. Who is that in Belfry's Tower? We still don't really know. I mean, do we even have a name for her yet?
Just the witch.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the witch. Yeah.
What's her deal? Who was the bloke? And I guess maybe he was Ralph. That seems to be the working theory going on here. But was he calling? Was he looking for Victoria? But if he's not, then who was he calling there at the end when he, you know, was letting them know that the Hook is looking for the girl? And Tony wants to know what's so. That's actually a good question. What's up with the special brew?
Hey, everybody has their tea preferences, you know.
Everybody has their tea preferences, but what is so special about hers?
And why does hers have to smell like dirty feet?
It looked like coffee more than anything.
You know, can't always account for taste.
It looked like two things: either dirty water or coffee.
Okay. We never came up with an arbitrary.
Does someone hate coffee?
Okay.
Coffee,
so I guess that brings us on to today's arbitrary scale, which is definitely going to be completely arbitrary, seeing as I didn't write anything in here. So out of 47 bags of random herbs,
okay.
What would you give this episode, Tony?
Let me see here. Out of, you said how many again? 47, you said?
47.
Yeah.
47.
47?
Yeah, 47.
Anything, Tony.
35.
Okay, so like 3/4. So
I mean, okay. What with watching the movie again? This is my reason.
Okay.
With watching the movie again, I really wish that they would have, you know, actually did as much as they could with the movie side by side comparison with the show, because, you know, technically they did kind of sort of a side by side with Frozen arc, if you really believe, you know, like if you saw it, like if you watched through that whole arc, it was a side by side, almost side by side comparison. So with you know, their little once upon a time twist they always do, you know, I liked it for that sense, but I really wish that they would have brought it a little bit closer to the movie. Just a little bit.
Okay.
Overall,
so
I like it.
So because you were such a fan of the movie, you would have liked, you know, you would have liked to have been a little closer. Not so much of a one twist.
Yeah.
All right. So out of 47 bags of herbs, Elizabeth, what do you give this week's episode?
32.
Okay. And
so it wasn't bad or good. It was in the middle for me, and I enjoyed it. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say about this episode.
Obviously, you've been pretty quiet about this episode. Like I said, this was
Well, part of it was, honestly, it wasn't the episode. It was just the fact that the magic juice that I was drinking got me a little tired. And then my right knee started cramping. So when you were talking about one of the parts of the episode, I took a moment to go take some Tylenol. So I'm just not feeling the best right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. My knees cramp all the time. It's just part of my body. But anyway.
Stretch it out.
That's what I've been trying to do.
All right.
Bananas in the water.
Yeah, bananas, definitely. Monica, what did you think of this week's episode? 47 out of 47 bags of special herbs and spices.
I give it 43.
43. Okay, good. So yeah, you really liked this episode.
Shout out the ratings.
I liked it. There were certainly some for plot purposes,
which you've pointed out numerous. Yes.
Yeah.
TV.
But I think I'm just gonna have to let go of.
Right.
Issues, but I liked it. I mean, the first time I watched it, I didn't even take any notes. I was just into the episode. So yeah. Okay,
so for me, out of 47 herbs and spices, I don't know. I'll probably go somewhere in the middle of all three of you here, and probably go somewhere like 38. 38. Excuse me. I really liked a lot of the small jokes they had, and the puns, the bad dad jokes, I guess you could say, that they had throughout the script. I liked the twist, even though I really am not familiar with the original story to begin with. But just in general, just overall, I really couldn't think of too much to complain with, other than the small plot hiccups that you mentioned, Monica. So I think I'm right there in between you guys with what did I say? 38. 38. Okay. I'm already forgetting. Okay, so 38. All right, yeah. So I'm right up there with you, Monica. All right. Which, of course, moves us on to news as soon as I can get this damn phone to start up. Jesus.
Before you do it, actually, one of the questions that you had is Ronnie an alcoholic? Yes.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Like
Ronnie
I said,
is an alcoholic.
Yeah, we could.
I put that in weeks ago.
Yeah, we could scrub that off of the list now, because there's no question about it. Ronnie's
an alcoholic. She's favoring the booze.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's day drinking all
everywhere.
Whatever. Yeah,
it's worse than Storybrooke.
But we never see her drink much at a time. It's a shot here and a shot there.
Yeah,
and
but
really, I think over the course of an episode, at most, I think we've seen her take 2 shots.
She an alcoholic. Look,
I think it's like Bugs,
she's
where like even if you see 1 or 2 bugs, there's like 3 dozen behind there. So we only see her take a shot or 2, but that's just the times the camera's on her.
Let's just say
that's when she's taking it light. That's when she's taking it light. That's when she's not just got the. That's every other time she's just got the bottle turned upside down. She doesn't even have the shot glass.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, drink.
1 shot for you, 2 shots for you, 3 for me.
Right.
Yeah.
1
for you, 1 for me. Yeah.
Let's just say basically, when you work in a bar, be prepared to drink with your guests. Always.
Yeah, but a good bartender has another bottle filled with water for themselves that they don't tell the other people isn't vodka. But anyway, let's. Come on, Bill. You guys did not hear that at all, did you?
Nope.
No.
What is going on with that? Well, that's weird. Well,
let's
do news. All right, you guys ready? Let's try this again. Okay, ready? Let's see if we can actually do it this time. 1, 2, 3. See, whenever we try to do it, instead of it being it goes. It's like more like It doesn't work. But anyway,
you sound like
that being said, There was actually some news this week. After like weeks of nothing, there's actually news this week.
Yes.
I found an interesting article in Entertainment Weekly that more or less talked about the next episode or two. Like I said, wake up call and whatnot. Adam and Eddie were asked what they can tease about the witch in the tower. They said, without revealing too much, what we can tease is that we're going to learn more about the witch. We're going to see her in flashbacks, and we're going to see that she's connected to multiple characters, which is, as long as it's not familial connections like the old ones.
So basically, she's the new Rumpelstiltskin.
More or less. That's what it seems like to me.
Where he was familiar and, with a lot of characters that he met on his travels. Yay. Let me guess. Is she Lucy's what? Great
I hope not. I hope let's just nip that in the bud right now, please. Okay.
Because I have offhandedly mistaken the actress for the lady who played the Black Fairy a couple of times, and I keep having to tell myself, no, that's not the same person.
The magazine goes on to ask, Henry has pointed out that he's a kid in the photo. So where does that take us next? That's going to take us strange places, Kitsa says, especially for Ronnie, because this is now getting very crazy for her. And episode 6, which is the next episode, will answer that question. They go on to ask about her love life. And they say that there is a love interest that's going, but it's not going to be until the second half of the season. And Regina's flashback episode 6, and she's going to have an unlikely pairing with Drizella. All right. So I had 2 other bits of news here as well. Elizabeth, you said you had news as well, or?
Yeah, I have upcoming episodes.
Go ahead.
So okay, episodes 7 and 8. We're gonna see Rapunzel.
Okay.
And also 7 and 8 will be airing back to back on November 17th. So it's a 2-hour episode.
Yes.
So it's not the mid-season finale. The mid-season finale is I don't know when that airs, but that's the 10th episode.
Now, you said this is episode 7 and 8?
Yeah, it's 7 and 8. So after next week, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, is the 2-hour episode. Now
I saw the if I'm not mistaken, that the name for episode 7 is Eloise Garden.
Okay, so what do you know the title for 8?
No, but being that the title is Eloise Garden, in this episode we just found out that the name of the missing girl that Rogers is looking for is Eloise Garden. So more than likely, that tells me that the missing girl is going to be Rapunzel.
Find out who.
Yeah, that I think we're going to find out that his daughter is Rapunzel, which I believe Elizabeth or Monica, didn't you already make that connection earlier when he first described his daughter being locked in a tower?
Yeah, but I'm still thinking it's the witch.
The witch maybe being her, and then
the witch is too old.
Well, maybe the witch. Maybe in this story, the witch. The Rapunzel was raised by the witch and took on the witch, carried on for the witch after her death.
Well, I have more news. So Nathan Parsons, which is an unknown character right now, will enter in the 8th episode. And then Kiera Scobie will enter on the 10th episode as Zelina's daughter, grown up. And Robin, grown up, and also Zelina will be in the 10th episode too.
Yes,
I cannot wait.
Yeah, those last 2 items you had were the exact items that I was going to add as well.
Yeah, and she's got like blonde hair and green eyes. I love the green eyes.
The Nathan Parsons person, I believe, is from the originals. I think they said is one of his former shows he was on, and that he is going to be. I believe, mentioned that he would be a love interest for someone on the show.
Oh, okay.
But being that
who was
Ronnie,
what's the name again? Sorry.
Nathan Parsons.
Okay. I watched the original, so I'm going to have to look that up.
Okay. But being that they said he's going to be a love interest, and we were just told that Ronnie's won't show up until until the second half of the season. I wonder, excuse me, I wonder whose love interest he will be. Maybe Drizella? Oh. But anyway, yeah, so we're finally getting, with this first half season, winding down, like you noted earlier, that we're already halfway through. So we're finally getting some casting news for the later episodes of this half season, and maybe even going into the next half season. And yeah, like I've already stated, exactly what I think it'll probably happen as far as this half season goes, and then goes into the next half season. I just hope that it does go that fast; it doesn't get drawn out. Like I said, I hope that by the time, that's not to say that there shouldn't be questions going into the back half, but at the very least, we should know the main questions that were asked at the beginning of the season. We shouldn't still be searching for those 15 episodes in.
I really hope not.
All right, so unfortunately there is no feedback for this week's episode. A lot of that has to do with me. As I'm sure you can tell by the sound of my voice, I haven't been feeling 100% lately. Not to mention, excuse me, I'm sorry. Not to mention a few just personal things happening that's made my week rather hectic. So last week's episode didn't go up till late. I really haven't been active in social media this week as far as asking for any kind of feedback or anything. The giveaway we were having this week, but with all things considered, we're going to give it one more week for anyone to try to get in any kind of feedback they want to get in, and just to draw the pool a little bigger, so we have more to draw from before we send out these prizes. Once again, nothing big. It's just some little kind of once upon a time knickknacks to show like your once upon a time pride, for us to show how much we love our listeners and how much we enjoy the feedback. But if you do want to leave some feedback about this episode, about any future episodes, about anything that we've mentioned on the podcast that you feel that we've gotten wrong and you want to correct us, or maybe we forgot to add something, you can always write us on Twitter at GF Storybrooke. You find us on Facebook at facebook.com/greetings from Storybrooke. You can call us on voicemail at 424-274-2352. And I can't believe I just remembered that number just by not looking at it. Nice. That's 424-274-2352. And email, excuse me. You can also email us your thoughts. You can record a quick voicemail, send it our way, whatever you want to do, jot it down, however you want to correspond. It's at greetingsfromstorybrooke@gmail.com. And then, of course, you can always reach all of us individually. Tony, if they wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do so?
You guys can do so by going onto Twitter at Hoops900, HOOPS 900.
Okay, and Elizabeth, if they wanted to contact you online, where would they reach you?
Well, I'm on Instagram now, and my Instagram name is Queen_Liz_87, and then my Twitter, which I'm never on. Hold on, let me pull it up. Load. Okay.
Queen_Liz87.
Queen_Liz87. Yeah. What underscores?
And what was that? Oh, Instagram. So what kind of pictures you putting on there?
I've only had 2 pictures so far. Because I only joined last week. But there's one for me for Halloween, dressed as Emma, holding the dagger. And then there's one going to a comedy club.
Oh, reading for the Astros.
Huh? What
was that, Monica?
Astros, right?
Oh, wait, what?
Rooting for the Astros, right?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry.
Got fired.
Right.
Sorry, I'm from California. I'm a Dodgers fan. I know they lost. Don't rub it in.
And all right, and then Monica, where can we reach you online?
I'm trying to be on Twitter at Monica Sedai, Sedai.
Okay, and then of course I'm on Twitter at Inevitable Hawk, HWKE. Facebook, of course, is just Bobby Hawk, and then every week, maybe not necessarily the same time, unfortunately, every week, but every week you can find me hosting Rain or Shine, Sick or Well, the Once Upon a Time podcast, Greetings from Storybrooke. I don't know why I won't just shut up already, because like I feel like I'm just about to fall over.
Don't do it.
Don't like it.
That being said,
I'm gonna give you a potion to make you feel better.
No, but you know what makes me feel better is
Feedback.
being with you. Feedback. Okay, yes. Feedback makes me but other than that, I enjoy being with you guys every week, and talking about Greetings from Storybrooke, or talking about Once Upon a Time.
We love you too, Bobby.
And until next week, guys.
Greetings from Storybrooke. Storybrooke. It still exists.
Blank.
Oh, and silence your phone.
Did.
There, that's what I was trying to do. A few seconds late.